Hi everyone, welcome to Good for the Game TV. We're talking English Premier League. There's a full house of fixtures on the weekend, and we're going to be having a look at all of them from a betting perspective. Thanks for tuning in to Good for the Game TV. Hopefully a few of you will be with us on the live chat. We look forward to seeing what your tips and predictions are. But of course, the beauty of this show is if you do miss it live, it's very, very easy to catch it afterwards. And joining me from the little town of Knysna down there in the Eastern Cape, it's Mr. Good for the Game himself, Chris Sturdy. How are you, Chris?
Yeah, okay, Brent, thanks very much, and enjoyed the last two shows. Again, good stuff from Gary on GG Gaming, and the boys are excellent, on the handicap show. So looking forward to the rugby, but we've got a mountain of football to get through as well.
We certainly do, and then just to mention to people who have tuned into our football show in the past, we've had the English Premier League and PSL on the same show, but we've decided to separate it tonight. So this show is going to be all about the English Premier League, and then at 10:30 we're going to be talking all the PSL betting, and we just figured that perhaps we're catering for different markets there, so we'll give people the opportunity to watch shows on the individual leagues. But Chris, we certainly got an exciting weekend of football ahead of us in the English Premier League. The big game, of course, coming on Sunday night, Liverpool against Manchester City. But another 9 matches to get through before we have to chat about that one. And first up, we've got Brighton against West Ham, and that's on Friday night.
Yeah, Friday night match. Brighton struggling to find wins, They've only got 1 win this season. That was at home to Man U. West Ham all of a sudden coming good. I was beginning to write them off. They had an awful start to the season. But 7 points in the last 3 matches, beat Man United last week, won at Everton, and also drawn with Chelsea. So decent form there. Looking at the betting, Brent, it seems very open match result, and I think that's about right, and hence my money's on the draw here because no firm opinion on either side.
Yeah, I must say I had a good look at this game as well. I always like a bit of Friday night action. I'm going to be at Sun City tomorrow night. There's a bit of rugby on as well, but I thought let's look for something there. I must say, very impressed with West Ham against Manchester United, and I'm actually leaning towards West Ham, the win at 7-4. I do feel they've turned a bit of a corner. I think they beat Everton 3-1 away from home as well. I stand to be corrected on that one, but I do think that West Ham could be the business. So you go and draw, and I'm going the West Ham win.
Yeah. Okay.
Right, let's move on. Just to welcome Vin Naidu to the show. He says he did miss the earlier shows and he'll catch up. And any guesses, Chris, who he's going for this week?
Burnley.
No doubt about it, he says. Forza Burnley this weekend again. And I've got to tell you, we'll get to that game in a little while. I'm not in disagreement with him at all. But first up, Saturday, 4 o'clock kickoff South African time. Crystal Palace up against Wolves. Wolves, I think, have made a very satisfactory start to life in the English Premier League. Crystal Palace have perhaps been a bit disappointing. You've got 19-10 Palace here, just over 2-1 the draw. And Wolves, in fact, are the favourites for this game at around about the 17-10 mark.
Yeah, again, another one where there's not an awful lot in it in the betting. As you say, Wolves are in the better form. I think it's 5 unbeaten now, 3 wins and 2 draws. Got a draw last road trip, I think, at Man U. They drew 1-1. They've won at West Ham, and they've got some decent home form. So, yeah, they're really going well, and I enjoy watching Wolves. Palace, as you say, disappointing. Lost again Monday night away at Bournemouth, and their home form not particularly good. I don't know if I've got enough confidence to put up the away win, but I want to give you a stat here, Brent, and this is based on last week's results, right? 10 matches. First game, West Ham beat Man U 3-1. Yeah. The next 9 matches, 2 to 3 goals in total arrived in every single game. Yeah. And when you're not all that confident, I think that, it's a run. Hey, usually around 9-10, 19-20, probably 9-10 this week. And yeah, in this one, I can see a couple of goals here, and it covers that sort of outcome. It covers like a number of score lines that you could see, 2-0 Wolves, 2-1 Wolves, 1-1 draw, whatever it might be. Yeah, 2 to 3 goals in total. That's where I'm going here.
Chris, I'm going to say, and we'll do this next week because we haven't really got time to put it together now, but what I'm going to suggest for next week is let's come up with maybe a treble, a 2 to 3 goals treble, where we take the 3-9 and probably work out around the 11-2, 6-1 mark. And see if we can nail 3 games on the weekend.
Yeah, I'm not sure what I've got further down my list. It's going to work. It's going to come up again.
Okay. We may be able to get it. We may be able to get it this week as well. I'm not going to argue with you on that one, Chris, because I do think Wolves. If I was pushed to go for a win, I would go for the away win. But I do think that this could be little bit tight, and I like your 2 to 3 goal option. Tottenham up against Cardiff. Tottenham were well beaten by Barcelona in a very entertaining game in the Champions League. And midweek, they're facing Cardiff, a team still looking for their first victory, if I'm not mistaken. And they're 1-4 to beat Cardiff at home, and you can get double figures about Cardiff, Chris.
Yeah, 1-4 seems about right, doesn't it? I had a look at the handicap, and I think Spurs to win by 2 clear goals was still as short as maybe 6-10, 13-20, something like that. But if you're trying to make a case for Cardiff, you've got to dig deep. Only 2 points this season, only 4 goals scored. Spurs clean sheet came through for us last week when they were away at Huddersfield. They won 2-0, and maybe that's the way to go here. They haven't kept as many clean sheets as you would normally expect, but you know, last week that might give the defence some confidence. And even though Barca put 4 past them, Cardiff aren't in that league.
So, Chris, I've got a feeling based on what you said there now that you're going to quite like my bet I've come up with here. I'm going Spurs to win under 3.5 goals at 21-20. I just feel that Spurs have had quite a hectic time of things lately. They should have no problem seeing off Cardiff, but I've got a feeling this could be the sort of game where they get 1 in the first half and maybe 2 in the second half and don't really put the hammer down for a big victory.
Yeah, I quite like that option, Brent. And another thing that it might have going for it, I mean, Spurs is a good football side. And I watched the Barcelona game. Hey, I've never seen a Wembley Stadium pitch in that sort of condition as long as I've been watching English football, you know. And they're still waiting to get to their new stadium, so this game is still at Wembley. And yeah, it was a shocking surface, which won't do Spurs any favours. Yeah, maybe, you know, that might be the way to go. 2-0 Spurs, correct score, something like that. All options to consider.
Right, well, the next game is my team, Watford, at home to Bournemouth. Watford 11-10 favourites, 26-10 the draw, and 49-20. That's just shy of 5-2 on Bournemouth. Yeah, I'm very interested in your opinions on this one.
Goals. It smacks of goals to me. Watford, yeah, and they always give you a chance, but they've got some dangerous strikers. Those guys are awkward. The fellas up front, Deeney, and the lad that they got from Burnley, Gray. Big lads, you know, and quick, strong boys, difficult to play against. Bournemouth, they got rolled in their last away game 4-0, but they're having a good season. And again, to me, they've always got goals in them, but they always look as though they could concede as well. When I looked at it, though, the both teams to score options, you know, they like short prices. I think over 2.5 goals, maybe there might be some 7-10 around, something like that.
There is 7-10 over 2.5 goals, Chris, but I'll give you another one here. I'll say let's be a bit more ambitious and go over 3.5 goals, which would have arrived in 3 of the last 4 meetings between these sides. So over 3.5 goals, that's 17-10.
Yeah, yeah. Push the boat out a bit further. Yeah. I think it's a runner, Brent.
Right, just to go back to the Spurs game, I see SA Betting Man has joined us. He says Spurs to win and both teams to score no, which is also a very similar angle to what you and I were looking at. And maybe I'll just ask him to post a price on the comments there so we can have a look at that one. But I also like his thinking on the Spurs game. But we're both in alignment then as far as Watford and Bournemouth go, that we're looking for goals and hopefully a good few of them. That takes us on to Leicester up against Everton. Leicester 5-4 favourites to win at home. You can get 9-4 Everton, and the draw also sitting in that sort of region at just shy of 5-2.
Yeah. Leicester 12 points, Everton only 7 points. 2 to 3 goals in total, arrived in 5 of 7 Leicester matches. Another stat though, both teams to score, yes, 5 of 7 Leicester games and 5 of 7 Everton games. So that's got even more going for it. I think that's another 7-10 shot. Is about as short as I would go. But that would look like one of the better bets on the card for me. Both teams to score. Right,
both teams to score there. I haven't had a good look at this game, so happy to include that in my accumulator as well. That moves us on to the game which Mr. Vin Naidu, I know, will be watching, and that's Burnley up against Huddersfield. Burnley 11-10, and Chris, Huddersfield 31-10. Huddersfield really having a poor season at the end of the day. I think they're pretty much rooted to the bottom of the table, and they're still without a victory in their 7 starts. And Burnley have had some form. They arrived for us last week on the road, if I'm not mistaken, and also had a 4-0 win over Bournemouth before that. My only question to you, Chris, is why are we getting odds against on Burnley for this one?
I thought that. I must admit, when I saw 11 to 10s and odds against quotes, I thought, yeah, this is it. And I've got a big star marked against this one. The only thing that I could say for Huddersfield, right, is that they haven't scored at home, but they've actually scored 3 goals. The 3 goals they've scored all season have all come away from home. And they've scored at places like Man City. They've scored at Everton. Would 1 goal, if they get it, be enough to get something from Burnley? I'm not so sure, really, because Burnley put Bournemouth away, as we said, 4-0 in the last home game. They followed up last week with a 2-1 win at Cardiff. Got to go with the logic. Home win.
Well, yeah, I'm with you there. I think the 11 to 10 Burnley looks a cracking bet. Just to let you know, Vin's going Burnley. I think he said Burnley to win 2-0 is 2-1. So he's firmly in the Burnley camp as well. And he also just made the comment, Chris, just to go back, and I do love this live comments feature, but what he's saying is that the Wembley pitch, the reason why it was in such bad shape was because they had boxing on it on the weekend, and the ring was in the centre for the Anthony Joshua fight. And isn't that it? Yeah. You know, because I was also looking at that. I watched a bit of it and I thought, gee, that's terrible. So at least we know there was a good reason why the pitch was in such.
Yeah, I'm not a boxing man, so I hadn't seen that. But yeah, thinking about it, it was all in the centre, but the ball wasn't rolling true, you know, and it was a shame. But I mean, they still managed to get 6 goals in total in that game, so it didn't. It's not like it ruined it for the neutral. But no, yeah, thanks for that snippet of information there. Most useful.
Certainly didn't. And just while we're on that game, thanks SA Betting, man, he's just posted there that Spurs to win and both teams to score no is even money. So we all seem to be quite aligned on some of the games this weekend, which may or may not be a good thing, but certainly Burnley looking a standout bet there at 11 to 10 for the win. And then Manchester United, under pressure, Manchester United, they were a bit disappointing in midweek, although I actually thought they put in one of their better performances for a while, but they were held 0-0 by Valencia at Old Trafford. But they face a Newcastle United side, Chris, that they should beat, surely.
Yeah, Newcastle, another team stuck on 2 points, struggling for goals, yet to win this season. But then United, I only watched the last 20 minutes of that Valencia game. I was watching, was that Tuesday night? I was watching Kaiser Chiefs against Highlands, I think, or whatever the local football was. And I switched over, saw the last 20 minutes. And in all honesty, I thought it was Valencia that were more likely to score from what I saw. But yeah, where do you go with this one, man? Do you really want to be back in Man U at this time? I looked at anytime goal scorers. Pogba not getting on with Mourinho, but he's 7 to 4. Lukaku 9 to 10. Maybe Lukaku 9 to 10 anytime.
Maybe. Hey, Chris, I'm going to ask you to keep talking on that game for a bit because I've suddenly had a light flash up that my battery's low. I quickly got to find my power cable. So have a look at that. Have a look at that one, and if you want to, you can go on to the next game, which is going to be on Sunday, which is Fulham up against Arsenal. But I'll be 30 seconds.
You do what you need to do. I'm going to talk us through Fulham and Arsenal on Sunday. Okay, Fulham finding it tough going. Just the 1 win. Arsenal 5 straight wins. You got to think away win there. I'm not so sure, to be honest. I think it's max of goals. The one that I like, Mitrovic, anytime goal scorer for Fulham. I'd have hoped for a bit of a better price than 5 to 4. But I think if Fulham do score, and I reckon that they will, Mitrovic is like the obvious contender. So Mitrovic anytime to score for Fulham, 5 to 4.
Right, that's 5 to 4. And I don't know if you touched on it while I quickly stepped out the room there, but SA Betting man reckons Fulham v Arsenal, both teams to score. Yes. What sort of price we got there?
It's short. I haven't got it written down, but it's short. Over 2.5 goals, both teams to score. It was very short. Like, I don't know, maybe 5 to 10 from memory, but I haven't actually got it written down.
Yeah, I suppose Arsenal games you normally expect both teams to score. So you're going Fulham. What's his name? Mitrovic.
Mitrovic, big youth up front for Fulham. Yeah, anytime.
Okay. Right, excellent. Let's move on to Southampton up against Chelsea. Southampton big underdogs here at 4.5 to 1 and 6 to 10. Chelsea, I would say to build on the performance against Liverpool last week, although they would have been disappointed to concede the equaliser.
Yeah, it was a cracking goal as well, wasn't it? I mean, if you are going to concede, there's not much you can do about a goal like that from Sturridge, just a few minutes from time. I don't see that Chelsea have done too much wrong. They did draw the last away game 0-0 at West Ham, but as we mentioned, West Ham appear to have turned the corner. Southampton, I can't have Southampton as a surprise. I looked at Chelsea to score over 1.5 goals, 13-20, and then I scrolled further down the betting markets. Last week we were on Hazard anytime, eh? And he came up with the goods. 13-10 I've seen. I thought he'd be even money. 13-10 Hazard anytime. I mean, he's in the form of his life, and he's always been a good player.
Do you think he's guaranteed to start then, Chris? Maybe because of the European comp? I mean, is that being built into the price perhaps? Or, I mean, because if he starts, I'd have to say
yeah, we're recording this on Thursday night, guys. I've got Chelsea's game on now. They're drawing 0-0 in their Europa League game. I don't think I've seen Hazard. I've got the sound down. Yeah. And I'm not aware that he's injured. If there is anything,
I was thinking more about.
No, he doesn't play. You get your money back.
Yes. No, I was thinking more about workload. Like maybe he would come off the bench instead of starting or something like that. But the only reason I'm saying that is because I agree with you. I think 13-10 is a really good price on him. The way he's playing, he's in absolutely devastating form.
Yeah, I think that the Chelsea are genuine title contenders. I see it as a 3-horse race. You've got Man City and Liverpool, who we'll talk about shortly, at the top, and then Chelsea just on their heels. And not just because there's a bit of a gap growing between those top three. I don't see anybody good enough to get a blow in, But Chelsea, they could have staying power. I thought they might start slowly and improve, but they've got off to a flyer under their new coach. They might have considered themselves unlucky not to have beaten Liverpool last week, with the equaliser coming pretty much at the death. So, yeah, I don't see that Chelsea have done anything wrong, really, and you got to fancy that they'll put Southampton away.
Right, well, let's move on to the big game, without a doubt, on the weekend, and that's Liverpool up against Manchester City. Liverpool a bit disappointing, losing 1-0 in midweek to Napoli in the Champions League. And Manchester City getting a late winner. I think it was against, is it Hoffenheim? They scored a late winner.
Yeah, they were away in Hoffenheim, yeah.
Yeah, it was a very important win for them, having lost to Lyon in their opener. And, this should be a cracking game. I mean, Liverpool dropped their first points of the season last week at Chelsea. And having a look at the betting here, the bookmakers could barely separate the sides. Sort of 16-10 Liverpool, 17-10 City, and the draw at just over 5-2.
Yeah, that City game in midweek here at Hoffenheim, 1-1 after something like 7 minutes. I was on over 3.5 goals. I mean, you'd have bought that off me at that time, wouldn't you? And then we had to wait while 87 just for a third goal and ran out of time for a fourth. So I had a nightmare in midweek. That just absolutely summed up my midweek picks, to be honest. Yeah, look, they're neck and neck at the top of the log, packed full of talent, both sides. Last season, City won the first league game, but that was in Manchester. I think it was 5-0. Liverpool had a man sent off early. But then Liverpool won the return at Anfield, 4-3. And then they won home and away in the Champions League against City. Now, Liverpool are a stronger side this year than what they were. They've got more strength in depth, certainly, this year than what they had last season. I'm still not convinced they've got enough to beat City. I'm loath to back against either side, to be honest, and the draw 26-10, and maybe even a nibble at 2-2 in the correct score market, which is about 10-1, at least 10-1. That's where I'd go.
Just having a look at Vin's comment here, he's saying the value may lie in over 1.5 first half goals. So we need 2 goals at least for halftime at 13-10. He reckons Liverpool quite often fast starters, and I tend to agree with him. It is a bet I like in Liverpool games.
Yeah, I don't think Liverpool have been as free scoring as what you might think. I mean, Salah's not been getting anything like the goals that he was. But when you look at who they've got, they've got so many goal threats. The Firmino's, Mane's, Sturridge, who's been coming off the bench and scoring great goals, and some of the midfielders as well. I don't know, man. I wouldn't put Vin off on the first half goals. I think goals will breed goals if that happens. If we get an early one, then it could be a really high scoring game. I'm copping out a little bit really, but match result draw for me.
Right, yeah, the draw I like. I'm going to be following Vin there on his over 1.5 goals. Chris, that's the English Premier League program covered. We of course will be talking PSL in around about 10-minute side for those guys who do enjoy their PSL betting as well. But wrap things up for us with your best bet on the card and maybe your value play. Because, by the way, Hazard has just come on for Chelsea. SA Betting Man posting that.
Okay, right. Thanks to him for that. So at least when I'm looking at this, they've still got best part of half an hour to go. So he's gonna get a bit of game time that maybe Chelsea didn't want him to have. But let's not let that put us off. Burnley, Vin, yourself, I'm in agreement. Let's go with Burnley as the best bet. I would say that Hazard is probably the next best bet. And then your value, struggling really, Brent. What did we come up with in Spurs? Not really value as such. Any of the 2 to 3 goals bets, because of the record last week, and indeed over the course of the season as well.
Yeah, certainly has come up a lot. Chris, thanks very much. You're not going to go very far, of course. We'll talk in PSL in a few minutes. Thanks to the guys who commented on the live chat and watched the show live. Remember, you can subscribe to our videos just below this one. Been good talking English Premier League football with you, but looking forward to talking PSL in just a few minutes' time.